Welcome to Yeshiva Daf. We're holding Chulin Daf Lamed Daled. We are in the middle of the sugis that have to do with Kachim, and we're going to be starting the Lamed Gimel Amud Beis in the bottom. The Gemara says, Omar Abulazar, Omar Abishai. That's about 7-8 lines to the bottom. What are we talking about? We have a problem. The Mishnah gave us a key, a formula that we need to figure out. A code. The Mishnah says that if the animal has blood on it, so it's kosher l'kabel tumah. Says the Gemara, what do you mean? It's Chulin. And Chulin don't get tumah. Why? Because the hands are only sheni l'tumah. If he touches the animal, it'll be shlishi. Shlishi is third level tumah. There's no third level in Chulin. And the Gemara proved that we're talking about Chulin and not kachim. Don't think we're talking about kachim, we're talking about Chulin. So once they prove this Chulin, how do you get to it? That was the question of the Gemara. The Gemara brought two answers that we saw before. What? One is that it's Chulin that you borrow with Ma'aseh Sheni. The Gemara says that's nitcha because Ma'aseh Sheni is only if you eat, it becomes shlishi. Now if you touch, and the second answer was there is a mandama that holds that the hands become tchilus. Because there is a case because rishon l'tumah if it went into ba'isa menukah. Those two answers we had before. Now I'm going to agree with the third answer. We're going, Kamandama, the whole was explaining. This is Chulin, but Nasu al Taras HaKodesh. What's the idea of Nasu al Taras HaKodesh? You're talking about somebody who eats only Kodesh. So he's careful that everything he eats in the same level of Tahara. So he's eating Chulin also on the same level. Not like Shittas Abishua. Someone who eats Oichel, which is Rishon L'Tumah, what does he become? Rishon L'Tumah. Whatever he eats, he becomes the same level. The Gemara is going to explain in the next moment why. Sheni. Shlishi. So Rabbi holds, whatever you eat, that's what you become. At least with the Rabban. Rabbi Shuoimer, Oichel Rishon, Sheni. Someone who eats Oichel Rishon and Sheni, he becomes Sheni. So Rishon becomes Sheni because it goes one less. Sheni stays Sheni, we'll see why. Shlishi, if he eats oichel shlishi, sheni l'kodesh vein sheni l'tshuma, because sheni for kodesh not for tshuma. So we'll get back to that in a moment. But what we're trying to get to, all that we're talking about, that is, we're talking about tshuma, chulin shenasu al taras tshuma. When do I tell you that you have a din? When do you say you have a problem? We're talking about an oichel that it is chulin shas taras tshuma. When it says oichel rishon sheni v'shlushi, we're talking about chulin. Which chulin? Shenas al taras tshuma. Person eats tshuma v'tahara, and he has his level, his chulin the same level. Ma'ash v'zil g'mal taras tshuma in taras kodesh loy kasov chulin shenas al taras kodesh leis mu'ushlish. Meaning, the Gemara understands now that he says only chulin shenas al taras tshuma has a level of Truma. Chulin shenas al taras kodesh doesn't have a level of Kodesh. Rashi brings the svar for that because it's almost like a bottle of daitut to kol adam. You say you can't just make chulin shenas al taras kodesh kodesh. It's not Kodesh. Truma you have more shaykhs to, so you can elevate chulin to be that level. But Kodesh you can't. So he says, it says the Gemara. Look who asked the Gemara. So what does the Gemara say? When it says according to Yeshua, chulin shenas al taras tshuma has a level of kedusha. Chulin shenas al taras kodesh not, and therefore when we're saying that our Mishnah is talking about chulin shenas al taras kodesh, that is not like Rabbi Yehoshua. Says the Gemara, why not? Look, come on, say that our Mishnah is talking about chulin shenas al taras tshuma of Rabbi Yehoshua. Why did he say that we're talking about chulin shenas al taras tshuma? Exactly that point. Second of all, second daita the ketani bosu. Tell you why. We're talking about, and here Rashi gives us the key. When do we say chulin shenas al taras tshuma, chulin shenas al taras kodesh? We say it because some people will get mixed up. He eats kodesh the whole time. He's eating chulin. He may think it's kodesh, and he may think that kodesh is chulin. So if you start telling him this week you can eat with tumah, this that, you get mixed up with you. But the only thing is you get mixed up. Truma, what can be truma? Only fruits and vegetables can be truma. Meat is never truma. So our Mishnah talk about meat. It can't be al taras truma because taras truma is only fruits. It's the only thing you'll get mixed up. That's what the Gemara says. Rabbi Shul is like a diet chitani boss has meat. Tibe trumo boss mihiko. So boss will never be that thing. So elamai bekachi. Elamai will tell me talk about kachi. But our Mishnah says that you have a problem with meat of basar chaya v'oif. Beim chaya v'oif. Chaya v'kachi mihiko. There's never chaya in kachi. We never have a deer coming to his back. Basar michlif. Basar period loy michlif. So well, yeah, right. Meat, people get mixed up between meat and meat. But meat and fruits, even though it's every two that this is deer meat, this is sheep meat. But meat and fruits really don't get mixed up. That's what if you hold this Taras HaKodesh, so you have Taras HaKodesh by meat, even B'chayo. If you hold Taras HaTshuvah, you don't have Taras HaTshuvah by meat. So the friend said that our mission is talking about Chulin Shas Taras HaKodesh, and now I can be sure the whole there's no such thing. I say, Rabbi Shua, he is Rabbi Shua. Hi, Rabbi Shua, that doesn't own Chulin Shas Taras HaKodesh? No, he does hold. Hi, he does hold. Why he brought only the example of Chulin Shas Taras Truma? Rabbi Shua, so we don't buy comer. Don't buy Chulin Shas Taras HaKodesh. The Chamiri these Bushlishi. Chulin the Taras HaKodesh has a level of Shlishi. And I feel Chulin Shinami Nas Taras Truma. Even Chulin there was never Truma. Nami is Bushlishi. In other words, no. The fact that Yeshua brought the example of Taras HaTshuvah, not because he holds no Taras HaKodesh. He says even Taras HaTshuvah. Taras HaKodesh also have. So, who are the friends? Friends talk about some people in the Bismedrash. Who are the people in the Bismedrash that they learned that we're talking about Chulin Shanasu, that Chulin Shanasu Taras HaKodesh doesn't work? Says the more Rabba Baruchanu. Don't Rabba Baruchanu, Rabbi Yechonon, Ma'adri, Ablozo, Rabbi Shula Adadi. So Rabbi Rabbi Shua is the ones that we spoke about in the Braiso, and they're talking to each other. What did they answer to each other? Because they're arguing what's the level of Truma. So Rabbi Lazar is the one who's saying that someone who eats Oichel Rishon, he becomes Rishon. He eats Sheni, he becomes Sheni. He eats Shlishi, he becomes Shlishi. Says Rabbi Lazar to Rabbi Shua, Matzino Oichel Chamur Min Oichel, the kiss on the side here, Min Maichel. The eater is always more chomer than the food. How do we know the eater is more chomer than the food? When you have a person eats a dead bird, outside of his mikdash, outside of the body, it doesn't cost too. When you eat the bird, it makes you tummy. If you touch it, it doesn't make you tummy. So you see that eating is more chomer than the thing itself. So says Rabbi Shua, so therefore I hold that if the food is sheni, of course the person is sheni. If the food has a problem, so whoever eats it, for sure will have at least that level, if not more. So we don't say more because you can't do more than what it is. But at least you have that level, because always the eater is greater than the food. Rabbi Shua, look at me, you can't learn from Nivas Torah. The Chiddushu, it's a Chiddush. Because we never found such a thing as tumas only when you eat. Don't bring a ride from there. How do we find that food is more chomer than the eater, than the person? Why? Food, how does food become tameh? Once it's kabetza, it becomes tameh. But a person doesn't become tameh unless he eats kedei, two breads. Half a bread, which is two pizza. Very good. Has to be at least, he eats more because it's kedei achila. So you see that a person, it's harder to make a tameh than the food. Food is the kabetzo, and a person is double. That's what we're saying. The person is not going to have the same level of tumah as the food. For Ablazar, two mishurim lagarim. Don't look mishurim. Mishurim has to do with, like as Rashi puts, a svar. Beitza is double chashuv to get tumah for food. But a person, in order to get tumah, he has to be eating. Eating has to be achilas pras. Okay, so that was svar. What is greater than what? The eater or the food? Ablazar holds that the eater is greater. So if the food is tumah, the eater will be at least that level of tumah. And Rabbi Shua disagrees. Now, we said something else. Rabbi Lazar is very clear. You eat Rishon, it becomes Rishon. He eats Sheni, it becomes Sheni. He eats Shlishi, it becomes Shlishi. Rabbi Shua didn't say that. He said if you eat Rishon, you become sheni. If you eat sheni, you become sheni. Says the Gemara, according to you. Shatah rishon sheni. I understand the rishon makes sheni. Sheni lamo. But why is sheni make sheni? Sheni should make shlishi. It says, I'll tell you, you're right. Really, it should go one level less. But we do find a concept of sheni making sheni. Usually food, a higher level of food makes a lower level of tumah. So rishon tumah makes sheni tumah. Sheni tumah makes shlishi tumah. So usually it goes down. But except sheni l'sheni, we do find that if you have a sheni touching touching liquid, what happens then? The liquid becomes rishon, and the rishon touching the food becomes sheni. So sheni can make sheni. So according to you, so why are you saying sheni makes sheni? It should be rishon. Food makes the liquid that touches the rishon. So once you want to learn from there, why are you saying sheni? It's a rishon. It's not called a place of truma. Anything which is possible but true, which means it makes it's sheni. Makes drink to be tchila. Except for yoyim with an exception. So that's question number one. So I don't understand why sheni will make sheni. Either make shlishi, one level less, or make rishon, because you want to learn from liquid, not sheni. Now what's the next sentence of Yeshua? That shlishi makes sheni. That's the next sentence. Look back. So he says, sheni lamo, why because sheni? Which means, I'm talking about when I said that shlishi makes a sheni l'kodesh, we're talking about truma, not kodesh. Because, as Rashi brings over here in length, the Gemara Chagigah says, the people that are very careful for kodesh, for them truma is no good. It's, as we learn Yechezkel, you see, it's really chumrus. What's the idea of the chumrah? We can prepare it, bring it to us just to explain it. It's like I have someone who's very, very, very careful in kashrus. He's very careful. So he treats others that are not so careful that I can't eat from their food. Why? He's not makbid so much on some things, but no. I make for myself a gather. My gather is I'm not eating these things, so anybody who does eat it, for me, is considered betrayal. So here, the Gemara says that's what it used to be. Someone who's careful for kodesh is very careful not to get tameh for kodesh. For him, truma is yecheshish to the worst truma. Which truma? The tumah that his wife is a nida who sat on it, which makes it tumas medras. So he's saying, for oichle kodesh, someone who's careful for truma is not a good level. So therefore, shlishi b'truma for oichle kodesh is considered to be that that it becomes more chamer. Shlishi, it's sheni. Why is it sheni? It's considered to be that it's a rishon l'tumah, that food, and whatever it touches, you chayshish the need to touch it, made a rishon l'tumah. And whatever it touches, goes sheni l'tumah. So the reason why it's sheni is not because really shlishi makes sheni. The reason why it's sheni is because for oichle kodesh, truma is a lower level. So mimele becomes sheni. And even chulin. So even though shlishi but truma doesn't have to can't transfer to truma or to chulin, but for them it does. Because they don't consider it to be shlishi. They consider chayshish to be his brothers. Okay, so that's the pshat. So Yeshua said, Rishon is sheni, one level less. Sheni is sheni. We find some concept that sheni makes sheni, so we're doing over here as well. Shlishi is sheni when it's truma for kodesh. Says the one that Lamdal based on top. Omav Zeru, Omav Asi, Omav Yechon, Omav Yana. Ha'oichel shlishi shechulin shenasu al taris hakodesh. So he's eating shlishi chulin that was done on taris hakodesh. Nasegufo sheni lekodesh. So it becomes sheni lekodesh. Why? What's going on over here? So he says it becomes meaning if it's done taras kodesh, it doesn't have the level of kodesh. So the same way we said the shlishi makes a sheni if it's truma to kodesh, so also now it's all taras kodesh, it makes a guf sheni. Says the Gemara, Eisi v'abzeh l'abdasi, shlishi sheni l'kodesh vein sheni l'truma. That's what we said before. We quoted before. Shlishi makes sheni l'kodesh not the truma. B'chul shirasu altaras the truma. That's what we explained in the end of the Bryce that we quoted in the previous daf. Altaras truma yin, altaras kodesh loi. Meaning, only altaras truma you have a concept of shlishi. Now altaras kodesh. Right? That was the discussion we had in the previous daf. Is there such a thing as chulin shirasu altaras kodesh? So you're saying chulin shirasu kodesh is such a thing? No, because and then it gets a shlishi, it gets a level of shlishi truma. We don't have such a thing because we only have chulin shirasu altaras truma, not altaras kodesh. As Rashi said before, it's botla daiter. I like the answer that we said in Amud Aleph. Meaning, taras the truma and avad the taras the kodesh. The chiddush is not only taras the kodesh, but also taras the truma. It says no, but Rosh it says ani lo amarti ela b'truma. That's all she says. I said only truma. So there's two Amorai and Libid Avircha. Did he say Truma and not Kodesh? Or not? In other words, is there such a thing, Chul Shiraz or Das Kodesh or not? It's a Amorai and Libid Avircha. Once you hold, of course, if you have Chul Shiraz or Das Truma, you have Chul Shiraz or Das Kodesh. The other one says, Bot Ladaita. You don't say the Chul you have it in Kodesh. Says the Gemara, Homa Ulo, Ha'oicha Shlishi Shechulin, Shenasu Altaris Truma. So it's shlishi shechur atorah nasa gufoy nifsla gufoy milechol b'tshum. So you're saying there's such a thing as chul shirasu altaras truma. So right now he becomes what happens? He's eating shlishi. So you say he is shlishi as well. He is shlishi as well. My kamashman. Tanino we learn shlishi shein l'kodesh vein sheini l'truma. We said when you're eating shlishi it makes you sheini. We said before why. Because Truma has a Kavi Kodesh considered to be nothing. But Chulin Shirasu altaras Truma. So Chulin Shirasu altaras Truma, if person eats Shlishi, he's only Sheni l'Kodesh, not a Truma. Sheni l'Dulav, Shlishi Ave, Mashi, he's not Sheni, but he's Shlishi. So how the more change a little what we said before. Before the more understood that when you have, not changing, we're debating. Before we said someone who ate Shlishi becomes Sheni l'Kodesh, why? Because for Kodesh Truma is nothing. What about Truma itself? When he eats Shlishi? We need to address it. So more in the Churin's mashma, he's not Sheni, but he's Shlishi. Similar to the Shita of Rabbi Lazar, where Arich Shlishi becomes Shlishi.
Why can't you eat it then? What's the reason where you can't eat it then? You're saying it doesn't, it says Shlishi ain't Sheni the Truma, it doesn't become, it becomes a Sheni for Kodesh, not a Sheni the Truma, but yet it does say Oichel Shlishi Shechulin, Nasu, it is Nifsa Gufa. Why is
yeah, because this goes like a blazer, that whatever the food is, you become as well. So you become Shlishi. You become Shlishi. Says the Gemara.
But then what does it mean? The ain't Sheni, but it does become a Sheni the Truma.
No, Shlishi the Truma. He goes on the Shlishi, not Sheni. The Gemara says he's not Sheni the Truma. If he eats the Shlishi, he becomes not Sheni, he becomes Shlishi. Says Gemara, no, maybe it becomes nothing. Not Sheni, not Shlishi. Meaning from that Bryce, you don't see that. You see, they say he's Sheni l'kodesh, not Sheni l'truma. So what is he l'truma? So one is the answer Shlishi. So no, he's not Shlishi. He is Gomisht.
So then what does it mean that he can't eat it? Then why can't he eat it?
No, he is. He could eat for truma. He only can't eat for kodesh. He doesn't have a problem to eat for truma. Now the rules, regular rules of kodesh. The first degree tuma b'chulin makes a tome because it makes a sheni. It's tome itself, and it makes a tome, makes a sheni. Hasheni, second degree, poisel doesn't make a tome. It's possible itself. That's always the rule. We learn chagigo. The word possible means it's not the tuma doesn't transfer. Tome means it does transfer. So when it's sheni, it doesn't transfer. The shlishi can be eaten in what? In a mixture that has truma in it. Dema means there's truma in it. But if you hold with by shlishi, you become pasul le truma. Safir lemir the pasul gufe. How do you go and you tell him to eat the shlishi? It'll make a pasul. So Bishop, if you tell me that Shlishi doesn't affect the person, very good. But if you tell me it shouldn't affect the person, why do you say that? Omalei, Hanach, Lemnozi, Dema, the Leika Kazais, with Lamedeudav, Vedech Liaspas. When you have Nizi Adema, you have, it's basically a spice of Truma. In a big Michael, you're not eating Truma, Kedech Liaspas. Therefore what? So Rashi brings over here two explanations. One explanation is that we're trying to tell you that really he is Bishkom Shlishi. Hi, so how are you letting him eat Truma? He's not eating Truma, Kedech Liaspas. That's one shot. Right? If you look at the beginning of the Rashi, there's a long Rashi over here. You just see two lines over here. So the beginning of Rashi says, "Techiu boichel tshuva b'tshuva saguf, la'ava el b'kazais. Ve'in shum achil ha'shir b'tzared b'kazais t'kol yisurim. Me'kazil kippurim im shom etchil sa'achil sa'shir v'atzayfa yiktem echil pas." Your problem is eating kazais. You're not eating kazais in the right shir. So you're telling me because Shlishi why you're letting to eat this mixture. The answer is because he's not going to eat with a kazais. So I don't have a problem eating the truma. That's a Rashi the first shot. Then Rashi disagrees with another shot. He says, when I say, you're not supposed to eat even chatashir. So he's saying it's less kashir. But still, if he's also to eat truma, you don't give him chatashir. So he says the problem. Yeah, it should be a Yisur D'Rabbanan. So therefore Rashi says, he says, we're talking about regular chulin, not chulin shenas otas truma. And we're talking about the shlishi nechol, if you know ziladema, we're talking about that, not that he's eating it. We're talking about the salad. The salad you have over here, shlishi shebechulin with truma. Shlishi shebechulin truma. So he says, so the more I want to understand, but if you're mixing it with truma, so it has to be chulin shenas otas truma. Right? If I have a salad of truma and not truma, then not truma is the same level of tahara as the truma. So it's chulin shenas otas truma. And if you hold the shlishi is a problem, this should be a problem. Not the truma should be a problem. This salad, you telling this guy can go. What is it in nachal shlishi? You can mix it up with truma. What do you say? Make a salad out of truma and shlishi shebechulin. 1 second. Once I'm mixing a truma or not truma, so you have to tell me that not truma is a level of chulin shenas otas truma. Because if not, how are you mixing with truma? It has to be the same level of truma. If it's the same level of truma, so how can you go and tell me that it's not shlishi? It is shlishi because you have shlishi with truma, right? And it's going to paisel himself. It just says paisel himself. Says the Gemara, no. You don't have over here truma of kazais kedech pas. So when you're making a salad of truma and not truma, I don't have to have the chulin al taras the truma. The chulin can be not taras truma. Or you're mixing up truma with it? Yeah, because I don't have kazais kedech pas. So it's okay to mix truma with a less level.
What is that called?
Right? What?
What is that then?
No, it's truma mixed with regular chulin.
What does it give the status? Chulin status?
Regular chulin. It's regular chulin, not taras truma.
Who cares about
You don't have to eat that's true.
Who cares about the Yechezkel process? If that's then it's then
No, but the problem is, how can you mix chulin with truma? So the answer is very little truma. So I can mix it with regular chulin with truma.
the Yechezkel process allows you to mix it.
Yes.
The first terrace in Rashi was the Yechezkel was allows you to eat it. Now it's what allows you to even mix it.
Mix it. The first answer is that he himself became Tomeh, but he's going to eat a truma shalom b'kedech l'espras. The second answer is not talking about the person. Talking about the chulin. And the chulin you're mixing up with truma because the truma is very low. The second go the side, we will stop over here. It's a hard Gemara, 2 minutes for tires, not easy, but we covered at least some of the ground.
Now tomorrow, please do before Milchama, the nickname is on it. So you do before Milchama, the daf. It's a good idea.
What is the nick?
The nickname's on tomorrow night.
You're talking to someone who's going to the game tomorrow night.
Sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. But what I do want to do is I want to say Mazel Tov to David Ross on an engagement of his granddaughter, Beis Hashem, tomorrow night here in town. I'm sure everybody's invited, right? I'll send them a message. So Rabbi Say, David Ross, Baruch Hashem, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov.
We'll be at halftime.